How's it going, everyone? This is Mike, and I'm back for another weekly chat. Um, James has his video up, and so I'll just kind of respond to some of the things that he said. The topic for this week is about what makes us cry in films. Um, do we cry? Are we that affected by a movie or a performance or something that we actually start crying? I think most of us do. I don't know. So let me start off by saying that I am a very emotional person and I can cry at the drop of a hat. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but yeah, I can. It doesn't have to be something to do with music or movies. I could just be sitting around thinking and remembering something that I said or did 30 years ago that I wish I hadn't done. I could start crying. So yeah, uh, I get affected by things very, very quickly and very deeply. So let me give you some examples. James. James mentioned two films that I recently got around to seeing. One of them was The Notebook, which I finally got around to watching about 2 months ago. And wow, fantastic movie. And yes, it did make me weep at the end. Great performances, great story. Jenna Rollins really knows how to get to me. And he also mentioned a film called Marley and Me, starring Owen Wilson, Jennifer Aniston, sorry, and a crazy dog. And that DVD was sent to me by my friend Bob Harrison up in Canada as a gift, which I greatly appreciate. And I watched it just a couple of days after getting it. And it was a terrific movie, very funny. But I mean, if anybody in the world can stay dry-eyed during that one climactic scene, which I won't mention to you if you haven't seen the movie, then you really have lost your heart. That was something. And I don't even own a dog, so. But yeah, that really got to me. Now, another couple of examples. Um, I watched a film recently on this compilation of four films starring Burt Lancaster. The films are, let's see, what are the films? Local Hero, The Flame and the Arrow, Executive Action, and 7 Days in May. And the only one that I've gotten around to watching so far is Executive Action, which came out in 1973. Burt Lancaster, Robert Ryan, Will Geer, and a whole bunch of other people that aren't big names. Came out in 73. It's all about a fictional account of a group of very powerful men during the John F. Kennedy administration who decide that he needs to be assassinated. So this ties into a lot of the conspiracy theories that a lot of people believe anyway, that it was not just something that, what's his name, Oswald? Yeah, Oswald. God, I forgot that guy's name. Lee Harvey Oswald did all by himself, that it was a conspiracy. There were gunshots from different directions, all sorts of things that people believe, which quite frankly, I should know a lot of this stuff, and I don't. I don't dwell on the whole assassination thing, but it wasn't a terrific movie. It was very, it was kind of dry, quite frankly. I enjoyed the subject matter. It's just that they didn't really put a lot of drama into it. But yeah, some of it was kind of cool to watch. But what got to me was when it came time for the assassination to happen, they were showing the film clips from what actually happened. And when those started, I just fell apart. I just started weeping. I couldn't help it. It is not possible for me to watch those old film clips or film clips of his funeral without falling apart. I just can't do it. It's too real to me. I remember it, and I just can't. Yeah, it's very hard to watch. So that was difficult. That was really difficult. And another film that I watched a few years ago, which I'll show to you now, The Red Violin, from the year 1997, starring Samuel L. Jackson and a lot of other people. Jason Fleming is in it. Uh, those are about the only names that you might know. I don't know how many of you know anything about this movie. Maybe a lot of you haven't seen it, but it is an incredible film, totally unique story. It doesn't fit any genre. It stands totally on its own as a dramatic film, and it's all about a violin made in Italy, I believe in the 16th century, and it shows how the violin travels through the ages with different people, what happens to the violin, what happens to the people who own it, and finally how it ends up in the 20th century at an auction in Montreal. So, but there's a secret about the red violin, and when you find out what it is, as the film shows you what happened to this violin, how it was made, why it was made, it's just devastating. It's one of the most devastating things I've ever seen in a movie. And if that wasn't enough to make me cry, the music that goes with the film is some of the most beautiful, sad music. I don't think I've ever heard any music that was sadder than the music in the red violin. And the theme that goes throughout the film, in early in the film, it's just a woman humming a tune, and then it's played instrumentally throughout the movie, and then at the end, during the credits, when the credits are playing out, the last thing you hear is this woman's voice, just all by itself, singing this melody, and it is so haunting that, yeah, when I'm just thinking about it, it can make me sad. So anyway, so the red violin, I highly recommend this if you haven't seen it. Okay, give it a chance. It's a fantastic movie. So, but here's something that happened a couple of nights ago. I was reading a response to my video, the series we're doing, Movies from A to Z, and I did my movie for the letter B. I did Beggars of Life, a silent film. And one of my YouTube friends, a guy named Colt Item, wrote to me a response, really nice response. And one thing he said was that his movie for the letter B would be something called Baghdad Cafe, a film that was made in 1987. And he talked a little bit about it. And he said that there was a song in the film that had been nominated for the best song of the year. Well, I remember hearing about this movie, never saw it, knew nothing about it, and I had no idea that there was a song from this film that had been nominated for the Oscar. I really did not know. It's a total surprise to me. The song is Calling You. Calling You. So I did some research and I looked it up, and I found a clip on YouTube of, I guess it's the original from the movie. It's sung by a woman named Jovetta Steele and someone else I had never heard of. And it's a beautiful song, just a gorgeous, melancholy, kind of a love song, but not really. Just beautiful lyrics. And she had an incredible voice, so I was very moved by it. And I was tearing up just listening to her. There were some other people on YouTube that were listed as also doing their version of the song, and I clicked on one just out of curiosity. It was a young guy named Jeff Buckley, and I thought I had heard that name before, but I didn't know who it was. And I was thinking of Tim Buckley. I found out later he was Tim Buckley's son, and I don't know that much about Tim Buckley either, but I know who he was. So anyway, I clicked on this Jeff Buckley singing "Calling You," and he was doing a much different version than Jovetta Steele. He was just playing a guitar as the only accompaniment, and his voice was just this visceral wail of loneliness. It just blew me away, and I was sitting listening to that song, it really, really got to me. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that quite often in films, it's the music that gets to me even as much or sometimes more than the performances. So just this song from this film, both of those versions, it really got to me. Now, there are some movies I can watch over and over again, and I will always tear up. I will always be affected. I said a while ago that I went to see the movie Jezebel in one of my film classes, and I've seen that many, many times. It always gets to me at the end when Bette Davis is being carried away on that wagon with Henry Fonda, who's dying of yellow fever. I mean, the music swells up, and I'm just gone. And another movie that always gets to me, no matter how many times I've seen it, is The Wizard of Oz. I can start tearing up when, as soon as it opens up and I hear the beginning of the music, because it brings back so many memories of watching that film as a kid down through the decades, and it's such a touchstone for me. And of course, anything that Judy Garland does can make me cry, whether she's singing or just crying herself, because she is one of the most emotional actresses that ever walked in front of a camera. And the very last scene, the very last line where she says, "Annie M, there's no place like home," just just the way she says it, the way she says the word home. I mean, it really gets to me. So I need to stop because I'm going to start crying now. It's a little, oh, okay. Well, this was fun. I don't know what I just did there. I just changed the scene. Good night.